My eternal light protects me. My divine force guides
Look at me! All the gold we want is right there.
No, I just came here for knowledge.
They're coming! I know.
Get over here!
Now, breach the seal. Get us through that door!
What is the one tiny detail that nobody seemed to notice in the Diablo 4 cinematic? Until now, thanks to an ArtStation article showing a behind the scenes of how the cinematic was crafted. Previously, we have discussed some information-rich blink and you'll miss it moments from the Diablo 4 cinematic, titled "By 3 They Come." From the hidden meaning to the sacrificial symbols on the pillars, to the assets revealing clues to the summoner's identity, both linked at the end of this video, and all of which paint a vivid picture that Diablo 4 is tying heavily into the Sin War novels and the vast lore of the Triune cult, something that the developers themselves have confirmed, with 3 sacrificial humans being led unwittingly yet willingly to their doom to resurrect the Mother of Man herself. But what is it that was revealed about the Doomed 3 in an article that you may have missed? Well, stay tuned to find out.
They have our scent. Run!
Surrender. Speak the words. Call her home.
The first untold detail is that the party of 4 was actually meant to represent a raid party, in which the modeling supervisor Shannon Thomas stated, "By 3 they come." The announcement cinematic for Diablo 4 from Blizzard Entertainment was a labor of love, 16 months in the making, and for the Blizzard Cinematics modeling team, it was a dream finally realized. And they said, "We're all such huge fans and really wanted to raise the bar." The Diablo team was excited about it, and J. Allen Brack, president of Blizzard Entertainment, was also excited about it. It wasn't hard to get people excited. 8 minutes, 4 people in a dungeon raid, and they're all going to die. One of them is actually a shapeshifter, and Lilith comes through a blood drum. It was an easy pitch. The first point of note from this is that although fans may have misgivings about some of Blizzard's recent decisions about the franchise, the cinematic itself was on point, with the bleak, gothic tones interlaced with the hopelessness and fear that Diablo is known for. To represent a Diablo Party 2, the 4 characters also represent a dungeon raid and their archetypes, a feature in the upcoming Diablo title. Technically, though, we find out one character's identity, which is still debated upon, named Magnus in the art assets and also colloquially known as the Summoner, wasn't part of the sacrifice, hence the 3 they come. And looking at the Triune, this makes sense. Their priests would travel in threes, 3 sacrifices, 3 greater evils, and the Triune Temple, which was the setting superficially, are known to appear as benign on the surface levels, but their true nature was revealed the deeper you went. Hence the effed up gate and the triangle of blood drum sacrifice, because as we know, 3 is the magic number.
Every triangle has 3 corners, every triangle has 3 sides, no more, no less. You don't have to guess.
Okay, so we've learned that there's a party that represents a raid. It's a natural nod to the game mechanics while fleshing out a deeper story. But what about the doomed party members themselves? Shannon Thomas went on to say, "From the beginning of development, performance was key. There were a lot of characters moments where the camera is in the character's face and they've got to give convincing human performances. So, right from the start, mostly for animation, they wanted to be able to leverage real actor reference. And that's why for this show, they chose to cast the characters mostly for animation references and facial references as well." Jason Huang, the lead character modeler for this show, talked about his approach from a stylistic point of view and said, "At Blizzard, we don't do photorealistic. I remember for the Diablo Immortal announcement piece when my brother Kenny, another senior character modeler at Blizzard, did his first sculpt exploration of the wizard's face. Jeff Chamberlain, VP of Story and Franchise Development, was questioning if it was a scan, and Jeff made it a point that we don't copy real life one-to-one at Blizzard. Jason explained that for the cinematic and for the Diablo 4 universe in general, he strives for hyper realism, something the series hasn't done before. And although the actors were cast for reference, the modeling team was also provided concept art. Their task was to push the boundaries of realism back and forth between the actors and the art, both on a character by character basis and overall until they landed in a perfect spot. So, enough where you believe what you're seeing is real, but just outside of those lines where it is kind of fantasy. But which of the 4 characters did they push so far that you may not have noticed a key detail about them and their class representation in Diablo 4? Well, the first that we know the most about is the hapless Zakharum priest who was a tad too enamored by forbidden knowledge and paid with his life and guts to resurrect Lilith, the daughter of hatred. Weird that he would be into her, but curiosity killed the cat. The second man seems to be the thief or rogue archetype, sporting smaller blades and a slight build, and that's about it, outside the poor treatment of the priest, which was enough to justify his own bloody demise. But the third character, where it gets interesting, is what is referred to as the Brute. Now, let's listen to one of their lines and see if you can notice anything on another showing, because myself and our entire Discord had no clue. As a side note, the Discord's linked in the description if you want to talk lore, and we have a Diablo book club for these types of discussions. So here we go.
We came here for treasure. What is this place?
I don't know. Maybe it's a temple. Or a tomb, or...
Still no clue? It's called the female barbarian archetype. Now, although at first glance it looks like Vincent D'Onofrio playing a more muscular version of the Kingpin who is a bit too enamored with soy protein,
Does everyone warn me that prison would be an inhumane environment? It is. But I find it refreshing.
this is indeed a female character. But how did the Diablo team come to the conclusion that making the most jacked looking lunch lady Barb would fit the aesthetic? Well, Taso Gionis, another character modeling artist, also worked on the female barbarian and said the female brute was another character where the director really liked the look of the actor, but we had to change her structure to better fit her body. She had a rounded face, so we squared it off a little bit. A lot of it was making her more heroic, superhero-esque and hyper-real, he said. Taso's experience in anatomy came in particularly handy for all the under-the-skin details that were required for the level of fidelity the team wanted to hit. For the overall look and feel of the characters, the team was careful to push and stylize where they could to break away from photorealism, and said, at Blizzard going back to Warcraft, we're always pushing it way more. StarCraft? No. StarCraft proportions are whack too, Jason explained, laughing. They have like massive shoulders, so a lot of that stuff is what a lot of our IPs work with. Very stylized, but a realistic sheen. If you take Varian, the forms of his face are realistically rendered, but if you were to squint your eyes and look at him as a silhouette, he's got huge shoulders, his chest is like a barrel, it's not realistic. On Diablo, that's where I would pull back from the broader forms and proportions to the details like wrinkles, minuscule details. Let's work with more subtlety. Funnily enough, my personal biggest gripe about Diablo 3 was the high fantasy setting and tone. Gone was the grit and gothicness, and in place of a more wow effect and animation and overall aesthetic. And like many generic high fantasies, I found that the character models were too bland and even, I dare say, attractive. Now, a great example is the Necromancer in Diablo 2 versus Diablo 3. It's almost this anime avatar level. Now, although the female barbs in Diablo 4 aren't going to be all angry lunch lady Doris clones, they are clearly going to get yoked like Diablo 3. I don't know how far you can generally go with the juicing or of either sex, but the Diablo 4 cinematics puts it openly outside the realm of realism, but just inside the box of believability. Although all of the above when it comes to aesthetics is a matter of preference, let me know in the comments if you like the female barb, the direction they're going with the animation and the aesthetic in general, or even better, Join us on Discord for daily discussions. There's a book club, 450 members and counting, heading into Diablo 4, and we will help carry you through raids. I promise, just not me. I'm the lore guy. I'm like Deckard Cain. We've got some really good, dedicated people to do that. Now, as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and until next